Hello, everybody. Welcome to another In Conversation with Graeme Codrington, part of the series that I'm doing, where if you've been along for the series, you'll know what I'm doing. I'm asking the question, once you're over the crisis, once you realize that COVID is going to be with us for a few months and probably is going to change the world in spectacular ways forever, not that everything will change, but a lot is going to change. Once you get your head around that, well, then what do you do? What do we need to do in business? What do we need to do with our people and our sales and our marketing and our leadership and our structures and so on? And I've tried to gather a whole group of people to just have expert conversations. And today, I'm really thrilled to be joined by one of my business partners, Dean Van Leeuwen, who heads up the Tomorrow Today Consulting team. Dean is based out of London. And Dean, it's great to have you along with us. Before I give you a more formal introduction, while everybody's just getting into the webinar and just getting themselves settled, how are you handling lockdown? Where we are here in South Africa, we've just moved to a new level of easing of lockdown in the last few days, and are heading into winter. I think you guys have done something similar in the UK, but I think you're having about the perfect weather for the start of summer, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a real irony here that we go into lockdown and summer just kicks off with a vengeance. I mean, I've never seen so many sunny, warm days, day after day in the UK, and I've been living here almost 20 years, so it's just been absolutely wild. I think global warming is definitely having an impact in the UK. But yeah, you're right, Graeme. Things are easing up here as well, although I don't think they were ever as intense as they were in South Africa. We were able to get out. You could drive to shops that were open. You could go out and exercise. You could go into parks. Really, the social distancing and just trying to self-isolate was the very big message. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, the restaurants, pubs, things like that, which are a real fabric of the UK society, still haven't opened up, and I think people are really wanting that to happen. But we didn't have the restrictions on things like alcohol. So I think it would be an absolute riot in the UK if the government had said you can't have your ale. So they still want to get voted into government, so they're not going to do things like that.
For those who are outside of South Africa had a ban on the sale of alcohol. So those people who had a nicely stocked home bar kind of survived for a few weeks, and then sort of you desperately trying to then work out how long lockdown's going to last so that your alcohol can last. And they lifted the ban yesterday. So there have been queues like around the block at alcohol. I think the UK had similar queues when McDonald's opened. I saw pictures of sort of 100 cars in a queue for McDonald's. I'm not sure which is worse for you. Alcohol or a Big Mac.
I'll take alcohol any day.
Me too. Anyway, enough of us talking about our experiences. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. I've really been looking forward to chatting to you, Dean, because we've been business partners for nearly 15 years. Our business has been going for 20 years. You were a client of ours before you joined the business, so we kind of had 2 decades of working together on helping people understand disruptive change. This is what Tomorrow Today does. We anticipate disruptions in the future. We help our clients to anticipate those changes and prepare for them. But we've typically done that in presentations. We come in, we speak to executive teams, we go and speak at conferences, and we help people. And the way we phrase it is we catalyze your thinking. We get you thinking differently. But a little while ago, we began to think about the disruptions that were coming in the 2020s. It's not just a nice science fiction type label for the future, the 2020s and 2020 vision and all the rest. We really did feel that a whole lot of forces were gathering momentum, and that the 2020s as a decade was going to be the most disruptive decade, certainly in our lifetimes, but maybe in most of recorded history. And we weren't trying to overstate that. We just really genuinely believed it. And you, a little while ago, Dean, you felt that we really needed to provide a little bit more assistance for our clients and actually give a consulting offering. So what is it that you saw that you thought people are going to need more help than just thinking about the future? There's going to be significant changes required in our organizations. What did you see that caused you to think about consulting as a necessary part of our offering?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Graeme. So as you know, we use the tides of change to analyze the world, to look at big disruptive forces and how they're changing. And for a long time, we've been seeing things like self-driving cars, automation, AI, 3D printers, genetics, DNA sequencing, all of these things coming together. And also you've got other forces. You've got social demographics, you've got aging populations, you've got shifting attitudes and consumer behaviors and values. Institutions are changing dramatically. So you've got all of this change happening around you. But businesses are still growing and shifting very incrementally. There aren't many examples of companies that are really boldly going out there and doing amazing things. And I think it was Ian Goldman, the professor from Oxford Business School, who said that the 21st century could be our greatest century. It could also be our worst. There are loads and loads of massive challenges facing the world. The United Nations has coined them the Sustainable Development Goals, and there's 17 of them. And they're saying, if we untap the value in these SDGs, we could release business opportunities in excess of $12 trillion per annum. So they are huge. Society's biggest challenges are also our biggest opportunities. But we just weren't seeing companies really grasping this. But then there was a small trend of CEOs, a new style of CEO, I guess led by Unilever and Paul Pullman, who were really saying, how do we use business as a force for good? How do we amplify the positive aspects of business? And slowly but surely, there's a growing movement. That you've got the Benefit Corporation and the B Corp, and these organizations are really starting to create platforms on which businesses can do incredible things. And shareholders and investors.
Sorry to interrupt there. The concept of a business as a force for good.
Yeah.
I think this is language you've become familiar with, but when I first heard it, I kind of thought, what do we mean by that? It's not like just a charity. It's not just a company that's got a foundation or a charity arm or is kind of donating a little bit of their time. It's something a lot deeper than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about saying, what are our capabilities as an organization? Which are the markets that we touch? And what are the big problems in that market? And how can we address them? How can we take doing well within our company, or doing good within our company, and place that at the center? So corporate social responsibility is typically a percentage of your profits. It's something on the periphery. Might not even be core to your business. But the being a force for good, or the doing well by doing good movement, is very much saying that becomes your core strategy.
Right.
So people like Paul Pullman and Unilever have really said, parts of their business, they're very dependent on water to produce lots of their products. So they've said, well, how can we look at our operations, look at how we touch customers and do really great things? One of the stories I love is the company called DSM, and they are a health and kind of science and wellness organization, a massive company. It's $7 billion revenue every year, and their purpose is to improve people's lives. And one of the teams sort of looked at the SDGs, and they said, one of the big problems we have is global warming. So how can we do what we do as a business and improve on that? And they thought, well, we provide feed or food to cows, to agriculture. And people know that agriculture is a massive contributor to global warming. So they went on a quest to create a food supplement for cows that stopped them belching out methane. And the product actually reduces methane gases from cows by over 30%. So, it's kind of saying, well, what's core to us? And then how can we do things that will really improve the world, make the world a better place, make what we touch and live a better place? But we weren't.
I'm smiling there, Dean, because obviously there's wonderful opportunities for humor just in that story. I wonder what the head of the research team dealing with reducing cow farts. I wonder what their official job title is, and what their children say mom or dad does, on careers day at school. I mean, it's a huge problem. I mean, we laugh about it, but it isn't a joke.
No,
I mean, it's a massive problem around the world.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to solve it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And your point is, and this is, I love the research that you and your team at Tomorrow Today Consulting has done, is because you've actually proven this. I mean, this isn't just, and again, I want to be careful even how I talk about this, because a lot of people would say, well, corporate social responsibility it's a PR issue. It's the fluffy stuff to make us feel nice and make us look good. But actually, if you get rid of all of that, go into the CFO's office, look at the profit figures, look at the share prices. This is serious stuff, isn't it? Companies that are doing this are doing really well in proper financial measurement terms, aren't they?
No, absolutely. I mean, the movement started about 5 or 6 years ago, and we're now starting to get evidence that the companies that do well but doing good are outperforming their peers by some margin. There are 2 organizations that you can follow to really see the impact. The one is Just Capital. And they actually look at the impact of organizations and they measure them against their peers. And they're doing an amazing study at the moment. They're looking at the top 100 organizations that are doing good during COVID, during coronavirus.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you know if they're actually doing measurements specifically during the COVID-19 time?
Yeah.
I mean,
they are. They are. And there's a great list on their website.
Sorry, Dean, I put the link to Just Capital into the chat box for those of you who are with us. By the way, if you are with us live, I know we've got a small audience at this time of day, but you are welcome to put questions or comments at any stage into the chat. Dean and I will pick them up. Obviously, if you're watching the replay of this, contact us if you have questions. But if you're live with us, go for it if you have questions. Sorry, Dean, I spoke over you there.
That's
you said there were 2. Just Capital was one.
So the other great source of inspiration, I guess, is Fortune magazine. And I think it was 2017, Fortune magazine started what they call the Change the World list. And it's 50 mega corporations that are doing well by doing good. Those are 2 great sources where you can go and look at examples of companies that are really embracing the storm. For me, there's 2 big indicators that the Build Back Better what's really been coined now out of coronavirus is gaining momentum. The first one is there's just the amount of capital that's being invested in organizations that are part of this movement. So about 3 years ago, it was $4 trillion a year was being invested into companies like this. Wow. Today, that has skyrocketed to 34 trillion. So that's really, really, really significant.
And so, Dean, I suppose there's a sort of short, probably a medium and a long term, but there's certainly a short and a long term view. The short term view would be that companies need to do good. So that's not just be nice, but it's actually do good things in the world. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of stories that emerge. I mean, there are stories already of companies that are doing bad. There are companies that are treating their employees badly. I heard of a company a while ago that came in. It was like 400 staff members all working in an office. And this is a few weeks ago. The boss came in and said, sorry, guys, we're not going to survive COVID. We finished as a company. You've all lost your jobs. And it's immediate. It's with immediate effect. Start packing up the office kind of thing. 2 hours, so everybody's crying, everybody's upset. 2 hours later, the boss comes back in and says, oh, good news, we've been able to secure a little bit of funding. We're going to start the business up again. We're not just changing our mind. The old company is gone and bankrupt, and we're leaving all of our creditors, all of the debtors, we're just leaving them. and you guys also, you went down with the bankrupt, but we're starting the business up again, and we are prepared to re-employ all of you at 60% of your salary. And you just say, oh,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah, there's some shocking stories of companies that just abuse capitalism. When capitalism works well, it does a lot of good. And then when it's not working well, when you have greedy people, people take shortcuts. It can become very disruptive.
Dark underbelly, right? So we know that the companies that do bad are probably going to be really, really hurt afterwards. I think there are going to be a lot of people who won't forget how badly they were treated. But let's not dwell on that side. That's not our story today. We want to look at the other side. We want to look at companies that don't just do nice things, that don't just kind of do okay. They actually go out and deliberately choose to be good and do good. And this is your concept, isn't it? That it's, as we come out the other side of the COVID crisis, companies need to build back better. I love that phrase. What do you mean by that? And what should companies be doing?
So, Graeme, at the end of last year, the Business Roundtable, are you familiar with the Business Roundtable?
Yeah, heard of them.
Okay, so just for other people in the audience, it's a think tank of about 181 of the US's largest corporations. And at the end of last year, they changed the corporate charter, which said, originally it said that business was there for the sole purpose of improving and enhancing the value of shareholders. And they've changed that to say the purpose of business is to increase the value of all of its stakeholders, whether that's customers, suppliers, employees, and so on. And this is a huge shift, and it's been signed by all of the really, really big companies in the US. So this movement towards building back better, being a force for good, is definitely on the increase. And our research, and we've been saying this for a number of years, companies that build do meaningful things are going to gain competitive advantage. And this is not the type of advantage that your competitors can quickly copy. And the best talent is going to want to work for you as well. So we saw this, pre 2020, and this is really what we want to be part of this movement. We want to help leaders to get their heads around what this means for their business, and how they can shift from the old mindset, which is about shareholder capitalism, towards stakeholder capitalism. So we said 2020 is going to be a decade eruption. It's a great time to really businesses to push forward and make a real positive benefit to society. Now coronavirus comes along, and I think it shows many of the big failings of society, of capitalism, and highlights and amplifies many of the problems that we have. And there are a lot of businesses who have turned around and done amazing things. Just TomorrowToday, we've guaranteed the salaries of our employees for at least the next 6 months. And we're a small business with small cash flow, but we said that would be the right thing to do. We decided against paying out shareholder dividends and securing up our staff. In the UK, Superdrug, immediately came out and said we will guarantee the salaries of our full-time and our part-time employees. And they've been doing some amazing things. And as you say, Graeme, people are going to remember these stories. One of the budget airlines, about 3 days before lockdown, put all of their staff onto unpaid leave and said, sorry, you're on unpaid leave, and when your leave runs out, you're unemployed. But just 5 days later, paid their shareholders 170 million in dividend payouts. Again, and I've been speaking to people, and we're just all saying, we're just never going to fly with that airline again. But I think the real opportunity here is to say, well, there's a new mindset around how businesses can be run. And this is a great opportunity now not to go back to normal, to do things differently, to think about what it is your company does, where it can add the most valuable benefit to your customers and to your stakeholders. What are the big problems that you're trying to solve? Be innovative and do things differently. In many ways, we've got an amazing opportunity here to build back better, to make a better world out of this. And I think our message to our clients and the businesses that we work with is, don't miss this opportunity. If you miss this opportunity, I guess you're going to be like the retailers who missed out on the internet. You're going to kind of kick yourself. So,
and you're always going to be playing catch up. I think a lot of people are going to come out of COVID, and they'll have a reset on a lot of the brands that they normally connect with. People are going to use this as an opportunity to make life choices, different decisions. And so this is an opportunity for companies to shine. I had this argument on Facebook recently. We decided to one of our favorite restaurants opened up for delivery. So you can't go to the restaurant, but they can deliver to you. So on the second or third day they were open, we put in an order, and it took them over 2 hours to deliver the order. The driver got lost on the way. The order was incorrect when it arrived. And I put up on Facebook, I said, look, I'm not going to name this restaurant because I understand they're working out new systems. I am disappointed, but I'm not angry. I'm not going to shout at them. I'm not going to moan, and I will order from them again. But imagine what would have happened if they had done something like a welcome back gift or something. I'm part of their loyalty club, which gives them my cell phone number. What happens if I'd got a message saying, hey, Graeme, we are opening for the general public next week, but because you're part of our loyalty club, we're telling you we're opening 3 days early. We're still testing our systems. So, it's not going to be perfect, but we're giving you a chance as a loyal member to try something. And then if I'd opened a box of food and there was a little handwritten note from the manager saying, thank you for being one of the first people to buy from us. They just missed the opportunity to delight me, to impress me. And that's a simple example. That's a little consumer example. But I think, Dean, you have in mind that companies with big billion-dollar budgets and big million-dollar projects can do the same thing. As we come out of the COVID crisis, which will only be in a year or two's time, when we come out the other side of this disruption, companies are going to have the opportunity to impress and delight us. And they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to build back better if they want to do that, right?
Yeah, and it can be any size organization, company that can do these things. It doesn't have to be a big company, a big multi-dollar revenue stream. When you look at the benefit corporation list of benefits or B corporations, many of them are quite small, medium-sized companies. I think it's this shift towards, or saying you're actually committing yourself to being a positive benefiter to society is what's going to turn these companies into the big corporates of tomorrow. I honestly believe that we will look at this. I'm going to start taking snapshots of the list of benefit corporations, and I'm pretty sure we'll track them, and you'll see in 10 years' time, these are going to be some of the big players. Yeah. So I think it's a great opportunity for small, medium-sized, and even big businesses. It's applicable and open to all. It just requires a leadership mindset shift. Yeah. And saying, let's do better.
Having said that, we're aiming to just keep this to half hour, so you've got a few more minutes to throw in any questions you might have for Dean or myself. Help me understand this a little bit. So, at one level, we've kind of said everything that needed to be said. I mean, if people understand the concept of doing good, which is not difficult to understand. You and I have both got children, and it can take you a while, but eventually they work out the difference between good and bad. So we should all understand that. Secondly, if people believe us, and if they don't, they can go and do their own research, go and look at Just Cause and others. But if people believe us about the fact that there is financial benefit and all the rest, then this sounds like a no-brainer, and then this is all we need to do. So we can just leave people and say, right, go and do good in the world. It's not as simple as that, though, because we've been talking about this for a while, and a lot of our clients are struggling. So you've started up a whole consulting organization, TomorrowToday What is it that people need to do? What is it that people actually need to think about? Are there 3 steps you could give us that you think people actually need help with in order to get this underway in their businesses? And I think I've just got a note flashing up here that Dean's line has dropped. I don't know if I've dropped out of this webinar or Dean's dropped out of this webinar. I hope that if it's me that's dropped out the webinar and I'm just speaking to myself, that Dean's carried on speaking to you. I'm just going to check and see. Okay, no, Dean sent me a note saying that his internet has died. So what I suggest to you, those of you who are watching the webinar, is that question that I've asked Dean, I think is really well answered on the Tomorrow Today Consulting website, in which they provide a number of steps that organizations need to go through. I'm actually just getting it as I sit here because they're not in my head. I'm not part of the Tomorrow Today Consulting team. I'm not a good consultant at all. I much prefer the presentations and the mind shift stuff. But go and have a look at tomorrowtoday.consulting. And that website will take you through the key things that you as an organization need to do, the key steps that you need to go through in order to create an organization that can build back better after COVID, can actually do some of the things that that Dean has been talking about. And if you want more information about this, and I'm doing 10 different things at the same time now. Dean is saying he's not getting his internet back. So contact Dean. So go to the tomorrowtoday.consulting website, contact the team there. I think Dean might be sneaking back into the room here and can just finish out the last few minutes with me. Otherwise, just contact the tomorrowtoday.consulting team and speak to them about some of the work that they do and some of the steps that you need to follow. It's really well laid out on their website. For me, the reason I wanted to speak to Dean is because of exactly this conversation that we've had, and we didn't script this conversation. We just came in here to have a conversation. We are colleagues. I know exactly what kind of Dean does with his day and the clients that he's got. But we just wanted to have this conversation with you guys listening in, because both Dean and I are passionately convinced that through the 2020s, this issue of thinking about all of your stakeholders and making sure that the value is spread not just to your shareholders, but to your employees, to your customers, to your suppliers, to the communities that you are in, these are going to be absolutely essential. Hey, Dean. Hey.
I'm back. Sorry about that. Not sure what happened there.
No problem. Thanks. I got your note, so I let people know that you were trying to get back into the room. Maybe, Dean, just finish us off as we head to the end of the webinar. My question to you when we collapsed is, what is it that companies need to do? Because obviously the concept makes sense. The proof is in the pudding. The companies that are actually doing this are getting benefit. So it kind of makes, it's a little bit obvious that you would want to do it.
Yeah.
Why then did we need consulting? I mean, surely we just tell people to do this, they go away and do it. What makes it difficult, and what is there that you can do to help people actually build back better?
Okay, all right, great question. So Graeme, first I think, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of companies out there who like the concept, who would like to be doing better, but feel that we're stuck with quarterly results and shareholder demands and all these things. The first thing you have to do is really just go to your CFO and show them the results that companies are getting from just capital. Use that as a resource. Use the the list of companies that's being built on Fortune magazine. Start the conversation with people. Say, well, why don't we do well by doing good? Why is it just about the next quarter? Surely there's more to be doing business. Could we attract better talent? Just start asking the question. You don't have to be the CEO or somebody in the C-suite or director or head of a business to start thinking about how your business can implement these strategies. I think many of these strategies are going to be implemented by the younger generation, the generations who are seeing just how much damage is being done to the world, and they know that they're the ones who are going to pick up the bill at the end of the day. There's going to be resistance. Many of the older generation, especially the older baby boomers, who would like things to stay as normal. They don't want any more stress as they head towards retirement. Businesses for them have done well. They've got good returns. Don't change what's not broken is going to be their kind of attitude. And you're going to have to convince them that if they don't change soon, or not even that if they do change, they can even get even better results. And I think that would be part of the picture that you want to show them. And then I think there's 3 questions which anyone at any level in any organization could ask. And this is, firstly, what's the big problem that you're trying to solve? What's the big problem in society? What's the big problem for your customers? Steve Jobs often said he never did customer research because his customers didn't know what it was that they needed. But if you dig deep and you find out what the underlying issues are, it's amazing the innovations and ideas that you can come up with. The second question you want to think about.
Sorry, I hope I'm not going to put you off. Don't forget the other 2 questions. Yeah. But I love an example that I've heard you give before, and that is about where the driverless car came from.
Yeah,
that illustrates this exactly, right? I think if I've got the story right, Sebastian Thrun, who was a professor at university at the time he thought this through, he's now the head of the driverless car project at Google. But he wasn't trying to develop a driverless car, right? He was trying to solve the problem of traffic accidents.
Yeah, his best friend died. His best friend died in a car accident. And he said to himself, he didn't want to create a slightly better car. He was answering the question, how do we end road fatalities? That was the big problem that he was trying to solve. So that leads on to a great example, Graeme, and that's what leads on to the second question, is to say, well, then, how do we use breakthrough technology? How do we use this new technology? How do we use new business models? How do we use new mindsets to challenge many possible problems that people have thought of as either being impossible or haven't even thought that we should even be thinking about a solution for them? No one had thought about having an iPod when Steve Jobs came up with the iPod or the iPhone. No one even thought about it. If you'd taken it into research groups, no one probably wouldn't have scored very highly. But Steve Jobs intuitively knew that not having all of your music on one device, basically that sucked. Bringing it all together into one device, was a great thing. Think about how you can use new technology.
Wasn't part of the genius of that saying you don't have to listen to the whole album, because the Sony Walkman was pretty cool, but you had to have your tape.
Yeah.
And I think it was when Steve Jobs saw people making mixtapes, and he said, well, maybe there's only one track on the album that you like. Surely you should be able to buy the track.
Yeah.
Not the album. And so 10, 15 years before iTunes messed with the music industry, he already had that in mind.
Yeah,
for him,
absolutely.
the iPod was almost irrelevant. It was simply the technology tool that solved the problem. So that's the point you're making.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Then is there a technology that can help me solve that problem?
Is there a technology, a new way of doing things that would solve that problem? And then what's your inspirational quest? What's that inspirational destination that you want to go on? I love the example of
how you bring people with you, the motivation to bring a team with you.
So I love the example of Elon Musk. And when he started building electric cars, he set his team the goal of beating a Ferrari using an electric sports car. Now, this is 10, 15 years ago. Imagine 15 years ago saying to your team, we're going to beat a Ferrari with an electric sports car. Back then, electric cars were milk carts. That's just a crazy, impossible dream. Yeah, and yet they did it. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 2.7 seconds. The blistering pace. And it's just it's setting. JFK, when he said let's go to the moon this decade, no one knew how to do it.
Yeah,
but it's a wonderful destination to strive towards. And that's what people have to do, is think about what's the big problem, what technology is available, and then what would the brilliant look like? If we found a solution, what would that look like? What's the output? What's the destination? So those are three really simple questions that anyone in any organization can ask. And by answering those three questions, you start to move towards building back better. If you're addressing big problems, you are doing something that's going to end up in a better world.
And my experience, Dean, of watching you and the Tomorrow Today Consulting team work is that the reason people might need somebody from the outside to come in is we're all conditioned, and we've been so conditioned in our organizations to apply the type of questions you've just asked to improving what we already do.
Yeah.
So, the clever people in our businesses are very clever at doing more of what we've already been doing.
Yeah.
Doing it cheaper, doing it faster, doing it for more people, doing it in new markets, but basically doing what we've always done, slightly better. What you often need is somebody who brings an external perspective and I mean, you guys have some amazing creative processes that you take people through to uncover some of these big quests that companies need to go on.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you do, right? I mean, that's your proposition to companies. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, at the end of last year, we were working with Europe's largest frozen food company. And one of the big issues they have of course, is fish sustainability. And the big problem we actually find is that people are eating lots of fish, but they're not eating fish that's healthy. So the big problem is on twofold. We're fishing out, we're depleting our oceans, but then we are not eating fish that is good for us. So we came up with a strategy and an approach of actually addressing both of those challenges, and it's been a hugely inspiring process for the team to go through, because now they've been looking at opportunities from both angles, looking at it from a customer point of view, looking at it from a sustainability point of view, and they know that the solutions they're coming up with are propelling them way ahead of their competitors. So and I think for us, what's really rewarding is that when your clients actually, you see that they love this kind of thinking. Everybody wants to do well. Everyone would like to leave a positive legacy behind. And when you start saying, well, it doesn't have to just be, actually, it is still about profit. Every business has to be profitable. It's about being a sustainable business, but you can do it in a positive way. Yeah, it's amazing the energy that we see our clients throwing at these projects. They don't become mundane things that we have to do to earn a living. But these are people who are walking out of the work at every day and say, gosh, I want to get back into the office because I know I'm doing some really great stuff here.
Dean, in fact, I'm not sure you're going to be able to say a better thing than that to kind of end on, because that's the point, isn't it? We know these companies make more money. They're more profitable. We know they make a difference in the world. Yeah. We know that the people who work for them enjoy working for them more than if you do it that way. And we know that customers reward them for doing this.
Yeah.
The only question, I suppose, left for anybody listening to this is, why aren't you doing it yet? I mean, there's, tell us the downside. There doesn't seem to be one.
Well, I think that's the opportunity, because most companies are stuck in a rut. They're stuck in the old mindset. They're stuck in the old way of doing things.
Yeah.
And the moment they become aware of this new way of doing things, they're going to jump onto it as well. It's
That's why you think this is the time to do it. So you don't wait until you're out of the COVID crisis. You don't wait until things have settled down again. Yeah. First of all, nothing's going to settle down in the 2020s anyway. This is just the first of a multitude of disruptions. Yeah. But secondly, now's the time, right? So, is that what you would say to people? This is the time to do this while you're being disrupted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're calling the 2020s a decade of disruption, and overcoming all of these disruptions is not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the first steps. Building back better, being a force for good, is just one of what we see as 5 key components of building an organization that will really thrive in the 2020s.
Brilliant. Well, Dean, I knew it would be a worthwhile conversation.
Yeah.
As I say, you and I work together, but we don't often do this sort of conversation. So I'm really glad that you were on our list of experts to speak to.
That's been really fun, Graeme.
We haven't had any questions coming through, but no problem. Let me leave you with the final word. What haven't we said, or what do you think needs to be said again as we finish up the conversation?
Yeah, I think the moment that we're living through at the moment is incredibly interesting. The ancient Greeks had a lovely term called kairos, and they said, every 150, every 200 years, forces of progress come together and collide, and the world is never the same again. And during these periods of kairos, these moments of transition, they call them opportune moments, and the leaders who are tuned towards change can seize opportunity. And that's where we are at this moment. We're going through this tumultuous transitionary period from one revolution into another, from one age into a new age. And there are momentary, there are fleeting moments where we can really seize opportunities to do incredible things. And that, to me, is what I'd like leaders out there to think about, is what are those opportune moments, those fleeting moments during all of this chaos, that they can just strike out and do incredible things.
Well, Dean, thank you so much. I hope that people take inspiration from that, and I hope they hear what you've said, that you don't have to be the boss. You don't have to be a shareholder. You don't have to be a multi-billion-dollar multinational company. That anybody can do this in any organization. And I honestly hope that people do. I think the world will be a better place if we have a whole lot of organizations building back better.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dean.
Brilliant. Go well. Cheers, everyone. Thanks a lot.